My name is Ben, and my first real job after college was graveyard shift security at an old, largely vacant corporate office complex in downtown Seattle. The building was massive, 20 floors of polished marble and dark glass, but only the first 3 floors were occupied. The rest sat empty, waiting for new tenants. My job was simple: sit in a comfortable chair in the lobby from midnight to 8 a.m. and patrol all 20 floors once every 3 hours. I quickly learned the truth about those empty floors. They weren't just vacant, they were silent in a way that felt aggressive. The silence of the city outside couldn't touch the silence inside the building. The first few nights were boring. Just me, my coffee, and the hum of the fluorescent lights. The first oddity occurred on the 3rd night, around 3 a.m. I was on the 15th floor, which was just drywall and exposed wires. As I walked down the main corridor, I heard a sound from the end of the hall, a distinct, heavy scrape. It sounded like a piece of furniture being dragged across the concrete floor. I froze. I knew for a fact there was no furniture up there. I shouted, "Hello? Security check!" The scraping stopped immediately. I waited, flashlight aimed into the darkness, hearing only the rapid thump of my own heart. I slowly approached the end of the hall. Nothing. Just dust and cold air. I noted it in my log as noise anomaly, 15th floor, and tried to forget it. The scraping returned the next night, and this time it was on the 18th floor. It wasn't one scrape. It was a series of quick, frantic dragging noises, like something heavy was trying to escape. When I got up there, the air was icy cold, even though the building's HVAC was set to a uniform temperature. This time, I found something. Near the stairwell door, there was a fresh, dark, oily smear on the pristine concrete floor, about 2 feet long. It looked like something had been dragged away moments before I arrived, and whatever it was had left a residue that smelled faintly metallic. I didn't touch it. I backed away and finished the patrol on autopilot. My nerves shot. I decided I was done with the high floors. For the 5th night, I convinced myself I could just patrol the occupied floors and call it good. That night, around 4 a.m., the elevator chimed softly. I looked up at the digital display above the lobby desk. The elevator was descending from the 20th floor. My blood ran cold. The service elevator was locked out above the 3rd floor and could only be accessed with my master key, and no one else was authorized to be in the building. I watched, terrified, as the numbers flashed down. 18, 17, 16. I scrambled out of my chair and hid behind the reception desk. I heard the elevator softly chime as it reached the lobby floor. The doors slid open with a hiss. I held my breath, waiting for whatever was in there to step out. Nothing. The elevator was completely empty. I watched the doors close, the chime ring again, and the car begin its slow, silent ascent. It stopped directly on the 15th floor, the same floor where I had first heard the scraping. I didn't wait to see if it would return. I called my supervisor immediately and quit on the spot, without bothering to give a reason. I never found out what was scraping the floor in the empty rooms or who or what was operating that elevator. All I know is that those top floors weren't vacant. They were occupied by something that didn't want the human presence, and it was using the silence and isolation of the night shift to make sure I left. My name is Jake, and for 15 years, the highway has been my office. I've seen everything the American Southwest has to offer, especially late at night when the world is asleep. But nothing I've seen prepared me for what happened on a stretch of Nevada's State Route 50. known to some as the loneliest road in America. This was about 2 years ago. It was 3 a.m., and I was hauling a load across an absolutely desolate section of high desert. The moon was nowhere to be seen, and the only light came from my truck's high beams, cutting through the vast, empty darkness. I hadn't seen another vehicle for an hour, and the nearest town was probably 50 miles away. It was the kind of silent dark that makes the hair on the back of your neck stand up for no logical reason. As I came around a long, gentle curve, my headlights swept across something standing on the side of the road. It wasn't a deer or a coyote. It was a man. He was standing perfectly still, facing the desert, wearing clothes that looked too thin for the freezing high desert air. Just a light-colored button-up shirt and dark pants. He was incredibly tall, and his stance was rigid, almost unnaturally straight. I slowed down, immediately suspicious. Truckers are always told to avoid stopping for hitchhikers in remote areas. I pulled the rig over about 50 yards past him, stopping just long enough to shout through my opened passenger window, "Hey, buddy! You need help!" He didn't turn around. He didn't move. He just remained absolutely static, facing away from me into the endless scrubland. I felt a sudden, profound chill that had nothing to do with the temperature. Something about his stillness was deeply, fundamentally wrong. I hit my horn once, a loud, piercing blast from the air horn. The man didn't jump. He didn't flinch. Slowly, deliberately, he raised one arm and pointed a single finger directly at the ground, right where he stood. He then lowered his arm and resumed his motionless watch over the desert. That was all I needed. I didn't wait another second. I slammed the gas pedal to the floor, pulling the 18-wheeler back onto the highway. As I sped away, I watched him in my rearview mirror. He was still standing there, unmoving, his silhouette shrinking in the distance. I managed to calm my breathing about 10 miles down the road. I told myself he was probably just a weirdo, maybe on drugs, or maybe stranded and too tired to react. But then, as I glanced in my passenger side mirror, I saw it again. He was running. The headlights were still a small speck behind me, but the tall figure was moving at a terrifying, inhuman speed parallel to my truck, just off the shoulder of the road. My speedometer read 75 miles per hour, and this figure was keeping pace effortlessly. I could only catch glimpses of him, but his gait was all wrong. Too smooth, too fast, and again, silent. He was matching my semi-truck's speed on uneven, rocky terrain in the dark. I watched him for maybe 20 seconds. I blinked, and when I looked back, he was gone. I told myself it was road fatigue, a mirage caused by the darkness in my racing heart. I didn't stop driving until the sun came up, and I reached a major truck stop. As I did my pre-trip inspection, I noticed something strange on the passenger side fuel tank, right where the figure had been running beside me. Scratched deeply into the heavy aluminum was a crude, large drawing of an upright hand, with the index finger pointing down, just like the gesture he made when I first stopped. I quit the long-haul route 2 months later. I don't know if I saw a man, a hitchhiker, or something else entirely, but I know that the loneliest road in America isn't truly lonely, and whatever is out there, it can run faster than I can drive.